Good evening, everybody. We're going to call this regular session to order. This is the 99th regular session. The first order of business is our invocation, which will be offered by Councilmember Brubaker, followed by the pledge to the flag. Please stand as you are able.
We come together on this beautiful summer evening to both hear from the people and conduct the people's business. Grant this body the understanding and wisdom to effectively undertake these responsibilities. This will be the final occasion when I am privileged to deliver this invocation. I am thankful for the opportunity I have been granted to serve Hagerstown, a community of great promise, a position I have tried to fulfill with diligence and honor. God bless our town, Washington County, state of Maryland, and the United States of America.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think someone's trying to mess with me because they switched up the flags up here. Just a few announcements. The rules of procedure we are operating under were adopted on September 24th, 2013. Use of cell phones during meetings is restricted. All correspondence for distribution for elected officials should be provided to our city clerk, who is not here this evening, but you can leave any communication on her desk. Please include a copy for the clerk for inclusion in the record. Our meeting schedule for September is as follows. We have no meeting next Tuesday, September 6th. We have a work session on the 13th and 20th at 4 p.m. And on Tuesday, the 27th, we have our regular session at 7 p.m. We do have two appointments, and so we'll consider those separately. The first is for the City Ethics Commission, Mr. William Brickner, his term to expire on September 1st, 2021.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Mr. Brickner will be sworn in soon. And we have one other appointment to the Hagerstown Housing Authority, Ms. Denise Sisler, her term to expire on July 1, 2017. And at that point, then, I think they're going to have terms that are concurrent. They're trying to make appointments more regular.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion?
Just as a point of order, I think, Mr. Mayor, that you don't need the council's approval for this appointment, but I think we're happy to give it to you.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr.
I
Minister.
think
It was just a
now-
test of your charter knowledge here. But I do believe you're correct, that that is one of my sole appointment authorities. But I appreciate the vote of confidence. We will appoint Ms. Sisler. I believe she is the resident commissioner as well for the Potomac Tower, for the Hagerstown Housing Authority. We do have many guests here tonight. First, I would like to recognize those here for the Highlight Hagerstown Awards. So I'm going to turn it over to our staff.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor, if you could come on down. And I'd also like to recognize Pam Arnold, who's the chairman of the Beautification Advisory Committee. And if I can get that to work, maybe. A little technical difficulty. So,
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. So tonight we're recognizing the 2016 Highlight Hagerstown Awards. These are properties that, through their landscaping and facade improvements, boost the curbside appeal of the city. We have 3 residential winners, well, actually 4 residential winners and 1 commercial winner tonight. And so I'm not sure who's all here for the Highlight Hagerstown. No, there are at least 2, so welcome. And so when we recognize your property, if you would like to come up and receive the certificate from the mayor. So, as I had mentioned earlier, we have 2 categories, residential and commercial, and this year we received over 25 nominations online through our city website, so that is fantastic, and they were all wonderful properties. The First one we're recognizing tonight is 617 Chestnut Street. Joseph Barnes was the contractor, and the property owners were Jessica Marshall and Amanda Reinl. And Mr. Barnes.
Congratulations. I understand the realtor who sold you the property is here as well. Thank you.
Stand right there. On the other side, okay?
The next properties for recognition are 119 West Side Avenue and 121 West Side Avenue. These are two separate property owners, but they have worked together to beautify the city. And I'm not sure, are they here this evening? No. I think this is a good example of exemplifying how neighbors can work together to beautify and the city of Hagerstown, make it a better place to live. The third property this evening is residential, is 102 South Prospect Street, Diane and Rural Delayet, and I don't think they're here this evening. And in the commercial category, Bulls and Bears of Bowman 2000 LLC for 3438 South Potomac Street. Accepting the award tonight is Rob Faree. If you can come on up. They received the award for the lighting, for the tree lighting around the property, which is most noticeable at night.
I'm accepting this award on behalf of Don Bowman. He regrets that he can't be here and appreciates the recognition. But you know, Don, he always has an opportunity to make some comments and suggestions, and he says he did this lighting for more than one reason. And the other reason, other than making his commercial complex more attractive, was to try to encourage the city to expand on that idea and maybe light up some more trees along the arts and entertainment area, certainly. Letting you know, I think.
Well, please give him our best regards. You can send him the link on YouTube. It does seem that they've inspired others to do similar kinds of things. I noticed on the square there's a restaurant that has done some similar lighting. So it's, like I said, you're a trendsetter in downtown, and we appreciate Mr. Bowman's efforts.
Thank you.
And Alex, I just want to thank the mayor and council for their continued support of this Highlight Hagerstown Award.
Well,
I
thank
think it's
you for
very
your
important.
service,
Thank you.
and all those of the volunteers that help make these decisions. Thank you. Thank you. Get these to the right place. Thank you. Thank you. And next, I'd like to read a proclamation that I will be presenting tomorrow evening. It came to my attention that August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. This day has been recognized for several years now internationally to highlight overdose-related deaths. And so I hope everyone will be able to join us. We're going to have a rally on the square tomorrow evening starting at 7:30. We already have, I think, over 100 people interested in coming. So I hope that you can come out, and really the idea is to have a conversation as a community, to start this dialogue, to bring overdose awareness to light, and to end the stigma around having conversations related to overdose. So this is to recognize and proclaim August 31st International Overdose Awareness Day. Whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event held on August 31st each year and aims to raise awareness of overdose and reduce the stigma of drug-related death. And whereas accidental overdose is largely preventable, International Overdose Awareness Day acknowledges the overdose deaths devastate families, friends, and communities. This day recognizes overdose from all drugs, allowing us to speak and educate more broadly about the issues while making a commitment to preventing future deaths. And whereas, according to the 2016 United Nations World Drug Report, about 250 million people between the ages of 15 and 64 worldwide, in other words, 1 in 20 adults, used at least one drug in 2014, of which 29 million people are estimated to suffer from substance use disorders. And whereas in 2014, the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene reported 1,039 drug and alcohol-related overdose deaths in the state. In the United States, just over 47,000 people died of drug overdose. And whereas International Overdose Awareness Day is intended to spread the message that the tragedy of overdose death is preventable, and whereas the City of Hagerstown is committed to improving the health and well-being of all community members, now therefore be it resolved with the support of the City Council, I, David Geisbert, the Mayor of Hagerstown, do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2016 as International Overdose Awareness Day and encourage the citizens of Hagerstown to further their knowledge about overdose and become empowered to assist those struggling with addiction to opioid and drugs. So again, I hope many folks can come out and join us tomorrow evening on the square starting at 7:30. It's a vigil, which means we won't have candles, but we will have glow sticks. And the idea is that we want to bring light to this issue, bring awareness, and start and continue the community discussion around these preventable kinds of deaths. So thank you all for that. And at this time, we have citizen comments. I have several people who are signed up to speak, and I will just go down the list. I will say that citizen comments are limited to 5 minutes per individual. Meetings are televised and recorded. Your comments will be on air and on tape and on YouTube. So please, when you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And the first person signed up to speak is Marvin Lohr. Marvin.
My name's Marvin Lohr. I live on Sunnyside Drive in Hagerstown. And I'd like to propose that the city carve out a section of downtown for trash. So you have a separate contract for trash pickup. Reason being, there's trash all over the streets downtown. Trash cans are out constantly 7 days a week. And if it went by the alleys with the smaller trucks, it would eliminate so much of the trash, and it would make the city look so much better. I know it'll cost you more, but it'd be worth it in the long run. Because too many people I know refer to downtown as it's between the trash and the empty buildings, and they just stay away from it. So clean it up, and maybe some other people can come in. A year ago, in June, you all passed some sort of ordinance about signage. I understand there's a little problem with the legal thing, but you can improvise. You can go down and talk to these people with the signage all over their buildings and see what you can do. You got all these artists in town now. Get them to work with the people. Make the place look better. Another thing is the NGOs are all concentrated one end of downtown. Now, I know you got to help people, but you don't have to put all that in one spot. You can spread it out. Because I think between the NGOs and the inaction of the city, it hurts downtown. You guys passed the ordinance for the trash and doing nothing. You put it off till July. Now I understand you're putting it off for another 6 months. You know, there's no compliance, and I don't understand it. You could have one code person working downtown, go block by block, and get it straightened out. But you just put it off, and I know you're waiting for the next group of council members to come in, but you shouldn't have to do that. That's it.
Okay,
Till
thank you.
next time. Oh, I will bring up my tax exempt, sales tax exempt downtown again. You can do it in a 3x4 block area. We'll draw in people. City wouldn't have to put any money up. What little bit of sales tax you have downtown, you will more than make up in meter quarters. And it should draw other shops in if you could do it for at least 8 years. Get it here, do it right, close it down after 8 years, and let some other city do it. I don't see why you can't. They do this no sales tax for schools in August. And they say, well, they make up on it by volume. And I say, duh, it should work here too. If the places outside the district would complain, just tell them you'd be drawing people in. They'll have more traffic coming in than they'd ever had. And they're gonna pick up, even though they would have sales tax. People coming out of Pennsylvania will buy gas down here because the heck, well, that's cheaper than Pennsylvania. It's a win-win for everybody. You have more people employed, you have more real estate tax eventually, and you have less unemployment. That's it now. Take care.
Thanks, Marvin. I'll just say that what you mentioned about the trash, we've had those very same conversations around the table down here about, looking at different ways of getting certain density buildings to have their own private trash hauling. So, and the issues with concentration of non-government organizations and all that. We've had those conversations too, but I appreciate that you're bringing up those issues. And we have been, I think staff just gave us an update in terms of the new trash ordinances and the efforts that they're doing to educate the community to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to come into compliance.
One flyer does not make education. That's all I've gotten from downtown.
Right, and then there's further contact with those properties that are not in compliance to try to get them into compliance without first using the stick, I guess you could say. But so those efforts do continue. And as for the sales tax exempt area, we would love to do that, but of course that's a state sales tax, and the
It's a state sales tax,
state
which is-
legislature would have to
I understand
act
the
on that.
city
And it-
government has to get together and
Sure.
present it to the local state representatives here,
Right.
who then would take that down to Annapolis.
And I just wanted to
Yeah, I
elaborate
know,
on that.
it's not easy, but it can be done.
Well, sure. I just wanted to elaborate on that and explain that that is essentially what we were trying to do with the CRIZ legislation that we were proposing last year, in that we did have hearings on in the state legislature, and we're going to be trying again this coming legislative session to achieve the same goal, which is to create that zone, the Community Revitalization and Improvement Zone, which would allow any state tax revenue, not just sales tax,
Well, I
but
don't want it-
income tax,
I
all
don't
the
want it
other.
to go to the state and get divvied out and have this, and that.
Right,
No
exactly.
sales tax.
Right.
Make it
Well, this-
easy, make it simple.
Okay.
And the people will come.
Here's what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
We're trying to say, yes, sales tax, but also income tax, any state tax that would otherwise go down to Annapolis, we want to see be put back into these properties in
Right.
this zone. That was the intent of the CRIZ legislation. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that and to stay tuned for when we bring that back in the next legislative
Okay.
session.
And then for the trash in the alleys, I drove all the alleys downtown. A smaller truck can do it.
Sure.
And it would clean up downtown. I mean, it looks terrible,
I appreciate all your ideas.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
but please do something.
Indeed.
Thank you.
The next person to speak is Rosita South. Rosita?
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Rosita South. I live down at the Alexander Place. And we have a little bit of a problem with the public square. They're telling everybody that you can't sit there and you can't smoke nowhere around there. We have a lot of older people with wheelchairs that can't go down to the lower alley to smoke. And it's a bad alley, like say you're down there at 7 o'clock in the evening, you never know who's gonna come up after you or anything. And we would like somebody to help us out to where we don't have to lose our spot, or give us a spot that people can sit, enjoy the day, enjoy life, you know?
And just to be clear, who is telling you that you cannot sit on the
They
square?
say the city.
Okay.
And.
Who's
up
they?
there's
The
our
Alexander?
Alexander people.
House, okay.
Our office,
I
yes.
think that's what's happening is that they are, they're making a lot of improvements to that property. And I've been told that one of the plans is to put some kind of outdoor deck or something as part of the building, sort of in the back. So I think the solution is on its way in terms of some kind of outdoor deck, community space that is outdoors, but is not at the ground level, but somehow accessible from within the building. So I would.
They're gonna build one?
Yes, that's apparently in the plans for the renovation of the building that they have.
Okay,
More
what do they
importantly,
propose?
Mayor, the city has nothing to do with what you're saying. This is not the city of Hagerstown.
They said that the city told us.
Oh, I
that
understand.
We couldn't sit there.
Unless somebody in staff is gonna tell us that staff has made a decision, it's never even been brought forth to this body to have, this is us
So we're-
finding out about it.
Yeah, and
We are allowed to sit there if we want to?
well, I think one of the issues is, if you're pulling out a lawn chair and setting up shop on the sidewalk, that's different than if you're just in the square smoking a cigarette. At this point, I'm not aware of any law that prevents anyone from occupying a space on public square and smoking a cigarette. So I think perhaps what the management of the property is responding to is community feedback that say, geez, all we see outside the Alexander House are a bunch of people loitering, in a sense, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
So
because
I
we don't have no
think-
place to go.
Right. So I think the property, it's definitely an issue with the property manager because they are trying to come up with an appropriate solution for, instead of standing out on the street or sitting in a lawn chair out on the street, on the sidewalk and smoking, having a place for people to do that in a safe, secure, possibly even more secluded environment for you. I don't know. You will have to ask them. I'm not aware of any timeline for the renovations of the Alexander House.
2017.
Okay,
And they say, about me sit at the square, like
Okay.
I walk or I go out there to fresh air,
right.
Yeah, they're making us where we can't do nothing.
Police officer, if he can tell us it's okay.
Yeah, they don't,
Right.
we don't do nothing.
Well,
We
that-
don't
that's-
create no fights. We don't
Yeah.
have no drunks.
No,
nothing
it's
there.
not the
We
city of
just
Hagerstown.
Talk to
So-
people.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I have the contact information for the management there, so I'll talk with them and try to get more clarity as to what to do in the meantime before they create that space for you.
Yeah, because we don't have no place to
Right.
go.
Sure.
I mean, I can't even
Okay.
enjoy the outside because.
Well,
there's
let's do
nothing.
one at a time. If you want to speak, I'll give everyone a chance to come up and speak,
Okay,
I promise.
because, yeah, like I say, I don't smoke, but I like to go out there and sit to get out of my place.
Sure, yeah.
And I just like to sit there and enjoy the night.
Well, I'm glad you came, so we could clarify, it's not the city that is enforcing any kind of law or creating a mandate that they do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next person to sign up to speak is Kim Mason. Kim? You pass? Okay. How about Lauren Boyd? Is Lauren? Pass? Okay. Shirley Hoffman. Come on up, Shirley.
Do I look like trash?
Please step up to the microphone.
Do I look like trash?
Is that a rhetorical question? No, you do not look like
Okay.
trash.
Why are we being told that the city of Hagerstown, meaning the police department, meaning the city council, are receiving or sending letters to the Alexander House that were detrimental to the city of Hagerstown?
I'm not aware of any such communication.
I was told that they have received several complaints from the city of Hagerstown about,
I don't know of any specifically from the city of Hagerstown, but I do know we get complaints about the conditions of the Alexander House and the fact that people do sit in their lawn chairs on the sidewalk and smoke cigarettes, and that detracts from the ease that people can pass in front of the building. But
but we have nothing else to do.
Right, and that is an issue for the property manager that I am hopeful that they will be addressing when they set about the large investment that they had planned for that property, including
This-
more community space
and this mayor and
indoors and
council-
outdoors.
Well, right now, they want us to go behind the building at the dumpster and
Okay.
smoke.
Yeah.
Or down to the next corner, which is not 25 feet from the building. There's an ashtray there. But to go there at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock, there's so much going on down there that it isn't safe. So we agreed a year ago. They gave us the option that it would be a non-smoking place. And the
Actually, I
mean-
don't think that was an option. I believe that is a HUD regulation now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or that, that we would go along with it, and that they would fix a place for us to smoke. It's been over a year. It's still, now it's going to be another year, but I might not be alive in another year, so where can we go and what can we do? You say we can't take chairs out there to sit.
Well, I think the issue is that, we need to work with the management to find a good location for you to be able to smoke before they get those improvements made.
So in other words, you are not complaining about us being there?
No, this mayor and council has never sent the type of letter that you refer to, ever, to the Alexander House, complaining about the tenants, complaining about folks being out,
But that's not to say
exercising their
that,
rights.
that's not to say that the management doesn't receive complaints from people. So,
From
you know.
you?
No,
It was
that's,
specifically said that the city is complaining about us at the Alexander House.
your elected officials have not done that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I can read the next, is it Russell Hughes or somebody Hughes? Okay, passing. How about Mary? Mary Gutierrez? Pass. Okay. All right, I have one more person signed up to speak, and that is J. Ramsey Farah, Dr. Farah.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor,
Good evening, Doctor.
council members. I just want to personally come and thank you for the proclamation that you did today. Only a few years back, when we tried to get the licensure and certification to be able to treat patients with addiction, we were faced with phenomenal opposition, a very hard-line perception of patients suffering from the disease of addiction, and the difficulty and justification of being literally discriminated against in any form of intervention. It is so sad that the problem has come to such an extent, such severity, that not only has it become a priority here, it's a priority in our state, because today it is absolutely the leading cause of preventable death, with deaths from overdose and addiction-related that exceeds motor vehicle deaths. It has been so regularly for the last 2-3 years. I just wanted to come and say thank you for recognizing that this is a disease, it's a problem, and it's preventable. And if you explore carefully the deaths of these individuals who died with overdose, or those individuals who were not getting treated, these are individuals who were not on medication or getting therapy that would have saved their lives. Since our operation at Phoenix Health Center, and before that, the clinic that I had left, and of course now I'm with Phoenix, over 5,000 patients have been treated successfully, with over 12% of them getting jobs for those who've never worked a day in their life before. patients who have been moved out of disability ranks, patients who have no homes that were shattered before, and patients who have considerably changed their lifestyle to be away from petty thefts, minor crimes, and essentially even more complex criminal behavior. Recognizing that addiction is a devastating chronic disease is very critical. And I hope tomorrow at the vigil, we can get reminded of how many people did not have the opportunity to get treated, who fell into the old school that it's a matter of just willpower, not realizing the critical need that these patients are required to face in view of the genetic makeup, of the unfortunate environmental circumstances, and the disease in itself that causes damage to their brain, their thinking, and their process in life. So I thank you for bringing this back to the forefront, because without the whole community coming together to help our neighbor, help our sons, daughters, uncles, because essentially there's not a single household in the country today that's not affected by some capacity by a member or a friend or a patient or relative afflicted with the disease of addiction. And if you think that opiate addiction is any different than marijuana use or alcohol addiction or any one of those behaviors, from shoplifting to sexual addiction, you name it, they all center back to chemistry, circuitry in the brain, and unfortunate behavior that ensues by not being appropriately and adequately treated. 65% of patients with addiction have a dual diagnosis. They have depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, attention deficit disorder. These are organic conditions. And so, again, I just wanted to remind everyone how critical it is that we support our community, support our citizens, because without the knowledge and the education and the support, patients will continue to fall with overdose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
There are no more folks signed up to speak for citizen comments. Is there anyone who did not sign up who wishes to speak? Kevin, please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Kevin Spielman, and I live in Potomac Towers. And I don't think we've got any problems like the last group of people. This question is for Kirsten Olshire, or anyone that can answer me, about the forum at the library. I believe it's September the 21st at 7 o'clock, sponsored by the Republicans Club. Am I correct on the date? September the 21st
Yes.
at 7 o'clock,
That's correct.
Correct.
sponsored by the Republican Club.
Right, at the Washington County Library in downtown.
Yeah. I'm a Democrat, and I believe I voted for everyone on the council because I think you all as Democrats. Are Democrats allowed to attend the forum?
I hope so,
Yes,
because I plan to be there.
yes, we've all been invited.
I thought you all were Democrats.
Yeah, well, it's, we still go to Republican functions.
All right, that's all I needed to know.
They make us sit at a special table, we still go.
Yeah,
So that's September the 21st at 7 o'clock.
correct.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
We hope lots of folks show up. Everybody's welcome. Anyone else who did not sign up to speak, who wishes to speak, please come forward, state your name and address for the record in the microphone there, and,
I think you know me, you all.
well, I do, but our city clerk, who's not here, will be watching the recording and will put your name in the record for the
My
minutes.
name is Kitty Brown,
Thank you, Kitty.
and I live at 7 East Washington Street. And outside at the Anderson House, up by the stairways, we always been sitting up there on our chairs. and we don't bother no one. But the house apartments in the back where the ice cream shop used to be, they got a camera up on that door. And the one guy came out and said, y'all know you all on cameras, sitting up here. And Gil, or whoever it was, brought all their garbage out and put it around that little garbage can, sitting out there, and he tried to blame us, and it was wrong. And then the boss at the Anna Sander house, right? Kaylee, whatever her name is, came around the corner and said, you know you ain't supposed to be sitting up here. I said, why? She said, we got 25 notice from the city hall. And I said, well, I don't believe this unless I hear it from the city hall.
Well, like I said before, I don't know of any official communication going out saying that,
Well, the black guy
those
in the
things
green
was-
apartment building, right, talked to the cop the other night.
Yeah, and if the police aren't kicking you out, then you're
And
within
I'm
your
always
rights to be
sitting
there.
out there, and I don't bother no one, and I
Sure.
always wave at them.
The only thing I would say is, again, I am aware of complaints in the community
Right.
about folks
But
blocking
why
the
is the
sidewalks and
homeless
smoking.
girl always sitting on those steps, and why is people sleeping
Right.
on those steps?
That's a good question.
I like to know that. And
Right.
people need to stop throwing their garbage out of the car windows.
Sure,
And they need to throw their own garbage in the garbage can.
absolutely.
Who want to pick up their garbage with their germs on
Right.
it?
The only thing I would say is, to request of all of the residents of the Alexander House is to just remember to be a good neighbor, you know, that.
And they need
you
to
can't-
stop lying in the office too and tell the truth.
Well, but to, you know, if there are, I know the steps you're talking about, and I frequently see people gather on the steps there, but you have to realize if everybody sitting on the steps is blocking all the steps, then that is a problem, and you're not being good
No, we ain't
neighbors.
blocking all the steps.
I'm just saying, you have to be a good neighbor.
I
right?
am a
That's all
good
we
neighbor.
want.
I've been there since 2005.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts.
And I don't have to lie one bit. Everybody knows me, even the cops and the judges, if you all like to know that.
Well, I know who you are too.
I know you
Used to see you
do.
up at the Bentley's Bagel Shop.
Everybody knows because they teach me a Hello Kitty.
All right,
And that
Kitty.
one right back there laughing in the Oriole shirt.
All right, well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks, Kitty. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ray Schreiner. I also live at the Alexander House on 10th floor. I would like to complain, if I'm doing good, about the office. You know, we had somebody who works in the office, a landlady, of course, Carrie Hallbigger, I think, and a lady named, oh, what's God? And I can't remember her name. Valerie. I don't know her last name. We have a bench inside when you first go in the building, you know, and it was supposed to be for sitting there, just waiting for our driver to pick me up. I have a private driver, by the way, to go to the doctor's, and I went there one time. The lady sitting there waiting for a doctor to drive, and someone else was also waiting for a ride. And Valerie comes in, and she goes, "Well, Ray, why are you sitting here?" I said, "Well, it's hot outside, and I had quite a few strokes, heart attacks, and trouble getting around." I said, "I came in from the heat, and I had to get some rest." She said, "Well, you could sit in the other part of the building." Now I did. Then another time, she said the same thing, and she said I couldn't sit at neither one of those places. My driver was supposed to pick me up and took me to my heart doctor, and of course, he didn't see me sitting there. And they went past, and the doctor's office contacted me later. They said they would send me a bill for a no-show. Because of course, like I said, my driver didn't see me. And I feel as though that is wrong. What am I supposed to do? So they said they might send me a bill for $40-something. Money isn't no object, but just the principle. why is, what the difference does it mean? Why is the bench there? I mean, you don't go to the doctor, or you come inside from the weather, or groceries and so forth. So then she'll time you sometimes. Well, you only have 5 minutes to catch your ride if you're not going to catch your ride. You know? And she is an arrogant person. I'm the type of person I get along with anybody, no matter who you are or what you are. I knew Mr. Ashard since he was about that tall. He went to the same church I went to many years ago. But like I said, I get along with anybody. And then just yell at me and shake her finger in my face like I'm sort of an animal. I am a person. Didn't see good. And one time, in the same way with my meal, I get meals on wheels sometimes because I have trouble getting around. Then they used to deliver my meals at the office there. And she goes, I don't have time to get that for you. And the other time they would, so she goes, well, if they come here, I'm going to refuse it. I said, it takes a little time for me to get on the elevator, come down from the 10th floor to the first floor. So, like I said, the money's no problem, but just the idea and the principle behind, well, I can't do that. And here she's sitting at her desk all the time playing games on her computer.
Let me ask you this, is there a resident association at the Alexander House?
I'm gonna say, you all need to get together. You're
Is
coming
there-
to the wrong place, and I've heard complaints of various natures about what's going on down there with management, and you all need to get together like you did here tonight and
Present
mass
some
and go
ideas
see these
and
people.
solutions
That
to your
would be a very
property
good
manager.
idea. But the trouble is, everybody, nobody
Now,
wants to share.
I will give them a lot of credit, because they came in, they bought that property, they have plans to invest, I think, up to $50 million in that building. So, between upgrades to each unit, having central air, some exterior improvements, and then some of these common areas, some community spaces we're talking about. But the reason I brought up the or the resident association is so that you can, as a group, start to address some of these issues with the management and work together towards some solutions that work for everybody.
And a lot of people are afraid to speak out for fear of getting evicted. You know?
Well, that's the power of speaking as a group. So, you know, even if it's not sanctioned by the management, there's nothing that would keep you guys from coming together and putting some of these ideas together and presenting them to the management for consideration. But it sounds like you're doing the right thing by at least coming forward with some ideas about
Yeah.
things and some concerns.
But what good does that do sometimes? Then if you
But-
all speak to them,
My understanding is they do have plans to make improvements
Yes.
to create some of these spaces. So my commitment is I will follow up with them to find out about the timeline for when they think those improvements will be made, especially for the common areas that we're talking about.
right. And also, they said that I told them a few weeks ago, my air conditioner was new and was leaking a lot of water from condensation. My carpet got wet like God knows what. And I don't know how many blankets and towels I ruined because of that. So then they fixed it, and they said, well, sorry it took so long, but I had no air conditioner for over the weekend. But like I said, my health-wise, and I didn't get a chance to have my driver take me to some store to get a fan. And I passed out sometime Saturday. Thank God somebody knew my keys in my door to get in. If they wouldn't know that, I might have died.
Well, I
So-
appreciate you coming forward and
But like I said,
bringing this to our
you know,
attention.
So somebody said Maria Gretty, good friends of mine, that brought me a fan. I don't mooch your bum and stuff like that. Like I said, this is the worst place, a residence I lived in my entire life. They said, well, you own a house out the north end town. Why are you living here? I like to help people. My sister and her husband was homeless one time. They lost everything from fire. They lived in that house. I'm sure I could live there.
Well, thank you again, Ray, for bringing these concerns forward. I do appreciate it. And
And I appreciate your input and say what you have to say.
Thanks for being here
I
tonight.
still go to Mr. Bowman's Boys and Bears. But my favorite place is, Rhubarb House. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who did not sign up to speak who wishes to speak? All right, that is the end of citizen comments. At this time, we'll have city administrator comments.
I just want to thank the August-Toberfest committee and city staff and all the volunteers for another wonderful weekend event. It was truly a lot of fun.
Thank you. I want to echo those sentiments and really thank Valerie and all the staff. It really is an all-hands-on-deck event here in Hagerstown with various departments involved, especially Public Works. Eric Dykey, I saw him both days emptying trash bags and running around, and along with all the other staff too. So very well done, and congratulations to all the volunteers and staff people who were involved in making it another success. Let's see, council comments. I'll start on my left and work my way down. Ms. Nye.
No comments.
Mr. Munson.
No comments, Mayor.
Mr. Metzger.
I'd just like to echo about August-Toberfest. It was wonderful again this year, and with regards to tomorrow night, you know, it is a national problem. 174 heroin overdoses in 6 days in Cincinnati in the last week. And it's just a national problem that we all got to get a handle on and deal with.
Mr. Brubaker.
Yes, this afternoon, the mayor and I visited Western Maryland Hospital Center. It's really a hybrid that offers a lot of unique services to our community, and I would really hope that our delegation and the governor's office can find a way to preserve those assets in a way that makes sense. It seems to be a going concern in Salisbury community, very much like ours, and I hope it can be maintained and actually enhanced. It's a facility going to waste right now. And again, I'll echo the August-Toberfest comments. Congressman Delaney was there for the keg tapping, the opening, and it was really a good chance to give him some insights on things that make this community tick and things that are unique up here that you won't find on the other side of the mountain. And so thanks again to all the staff and volunteers that made it happen.
Thank you. Mr. Alshire.
Here's one of those moments where that little voice in your head says, just be quiet. But I'm going to try and say this in a very general way. You know, it's a good synopsis in a nutshell of the comments that we heard tonight of the number of issues, from Potomac Towers to the addictions issue, to the issue folks are having at the Alexander House. And you know, you think in your mind, the average person's going to head down to the vigil tomorrow night. They're going to place some sincerity of mourning into a process of attempting to address an issue with individuals that largely cause, at many times, real harm to the community. They'll pass the lady that needs real help that I pass 3 nights a week when I pass you guys, sitting in the bike rack area, sleeping, that has real need, and glancing over at folks, seniors largely, that they wish they could shoo away and not have to look at on public square. And that's an unfortunate synopsis of our priorities and how they're mixed up.
Again, I just want to thank all the staff and everybody for August-Toberfest. I think it was a very good turnout and beautiful weather, entertainment, the children's area, the Basel Sister City folks, everybody was involved. And like I said, it's all hands on deck, and it takes a community to make it happen. Before I went to August-Toberfest on Saturday, I did attend the USMH new student picnic. It really does remind me how much of a driver of growth having the university in downtown is, and I look forward to continuing to work with them to enhance their status in the community. And want to also echo the thanks for Ginger Noble and Lisa and Heather, who are nurses at Western Maryland, for taking us on a tour of that facility. I have been outside biking and walking around that place for decades, but have never been inside. And so it was definitely interesting to see it from the inside. A very clean and well-appointed facility, old as it is, still very functional, and what's amazing really is the level of care that these patients receive. When you are told that you have some patients there who've been on ventilators consistently for almost 2 decades, when the average person who requires a ventilator does not survive 10 years or longer, then you really know and understand the level of care that these individuals are receiving. And it kind of goes to the point where that Mr. Alshar talks about, that, you know, if we value human beings, then it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, black or white, insured or uninsured, or however ill you are or disabled, or however diseased, whether through addiction or some other kind of disease, that we're all people and we deserve the best level of care possible. And I do hope that the Western Maryland Hospital Center continues to play a role in our community for providing that kind of quality care for individuals who, you know, many times cannot afford it on their own, perhaps don't have any insurance or any personal wealth to speak of. So I want to encourage the folks who work there to continue to do an outstanding job. I know that they're stretched thin often, that they're mandated to do certain overtime hours, which, you know, can have a deleterious effect on those who work there and have to provide that kind of care. If you're being constantly asked to work more than legally required, if you're mandated to do overtime, then that can, you know, just as it would be if we were told our police to do that, it would create some real serious problems with morale and job performance. And I only hope that our representatives at the state level continue to hear that message and will support the adequate functioning of that facility. And with that, we will have the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of minutes as presented for the mayor and council meetings held on July 19th and July 26th, 2016.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The minutes are approved. Next up is the consent agenda.
I hereby move that all the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Munson, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion?
Yes, I do. I'm not voting against the consent agenda, but I do have a problem with, again, the IntelliTime as far as the time and attendance system. I know that, I believe when we came into office, we were handed this, and we, in fact, I believe were the ones who did approve it. There are those departments that are still not up and running with this, and those departments but that we have also, it just doesn't seem to roll into the system that is there. And I just really get heartburn on the fact that we are now, I don't know, $300 and some thousand and a balance of 115, and we're looking at 53,000 each year for a system that we still do not have up and running.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the consent agenda is approved. There is no unfinished business, so we are now into new business. Item A is the introduction of an ordinance to quitclaim alley 1-006.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the introduction of an ordinance to quitclaim the unimproved portion of Alley 1-006 as outlined in the attached August 23, 2016 memo.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion?
Yes. I want to emphasize that in work session, pointed out that this was a somewhat, to be kind, clumsy allocation of the land, that no matter how much the current property owners agreed to it, it could create problems in the future unless everybody's rights are clearly spelled out here. So I want to say in the resolution we're approving, the only reason I can vote for this is it says, this quitclaim is subject to appropriate easements preserving access rights to the properties at 410 Key Circle and 374 Dakota Avenue, and further language describing what that means. And therefore, the quitclaim isn't to be granted until we know what those easements are and that they preserve rights for the future, not just so that the city doesn't have to solve access issues here in the future. So I just want to point that out and make it clear that that's a condition of the quitclaim. And that's the only reason I can vote for it.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have to agree with Marty. I had talked to one of the citizens that live up in that area, and I know that was back because I know he had talked to Rodney as well this week. And it was a question of coming to the city, and it all depends on what it is, a paper alley or some other type of. And my concern too is the discrepancy as far as somebody else moving in on this property, and then what are we gonna have? Is it gonna be the city to have to resolve it? We still have got those right-of-ways up on, I believe it's up on, just wait a minute, Wood Point, and fence that is actually on our right-of-way, and this has been since early June, I believe, and it still has not been resolved, and they are on the city's right-of-way. So if we can't resolve what we have that is ours, what's gonna happen with this? So Marty, thank you for putting it the way that you did, because you're the technical person, but I have to agree, we're really getting into a real shady situation.
I think our engineer has heard this message loud and clear. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The introduction is approved. Item C is item B is the approval of a resolution authorizing to close McPherson Street between Franklin and Washington Streets.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the approval of a resolution to implement the Hagerstown Police Department security project and authorizing the closure of one block of McPherson Street. The southernmost block of McPherson Street will be closed to public vehicular and pedestrian traffic. I further move to authorize the Hagerstown Police Department to take necessary steps to implement the closure.
I have a motion made by Ms. Nye, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion?
Yeah, just a comment. This motion that we're considering is for the protection of the public, but it's also for the protection of the police operation in the city of Hagerstown. And so, Chief, I hope that you will move this project along as quickly as you possibly can to make sure that the interests of all those parties are covered. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is approved. Item C is the approval of a resolution, a user agreement with the Cumberland Valley Model Yacht Club at City Park.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of a resolution approving a user agreement with Cumberland Valley Model Yacht Club effective September 1, 2016 through August 31st, 2018 to allow for the model sale boat activities on the City Park Lake.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the user agreement is approved. Item D is the approval of a resolution, a memorandum of understanding with the Maryland Department of Transportation for Marsh Run Trail final design.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Maryland Department of Transportation to receive a grant in the amount of $200,000 for the final design of Marsh Run Trail. This approval is conditional on the approval of the agreement by the city attorney.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Mr. Munson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried, and the MOU is approved. Item E is the approval of a Hagerstown Suns fireworks show on September 9.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the mayor and council approval of one additional fireworks show for Friday, September 9th, following the South Atlantic League playoff game. The mayor and council's approval will exempt the event from the city of Hagerstown's noise ordinance under section 155-3 of the city code.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Mr. Brubaker. Any discussion? I just wanted to say how proud I am of the Hagerstown Suns for making it into the playoffs early. And this will be a really good chance to showcase not only the city, but our outstanding ball team. I definitely plan on being there on the 9th. And just wanted to mention that last week, I forgot to mention in my comments, we had the formal proclamation declaring August Play Ball Month. And so this is an initiative by the U.S. Conference of Mayors with, I think there are over 200, I think it's about 207 mayors have signed this Play Ball pledge to really highlight the role of baseball in our communities, big and small, the presence of professional baseball in those towns. It also was a great opportunity to have a really good conversation with the president of the South Atlantic League. We had a really good conversation about the condition of Municipal Stadium, the longtime presence of the Hagerstown Suns in our community, and hopefully we can continue to have their presence in our community into the future. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The fireworks are approved. Item F is the approval of a contract renewing support for the Tyler Munis system.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of renewal of the maintenance contract for support of the Munis Municipal Financial System software with Tyler Technologies, Inc. The cost of the renewal is $191,631, including $30,000 for database administrative support and $161,600.31 for support and update, licensing for 27 program modules, and use by city staff.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and approval is granted. Item G is the approval of transfer of closed-circuit TV pipe inspection vehicle to the Washington County Department of Water Quality.
Mayor, hereby move for mayor and council approval of the Hagerstown Utilities Department transfer of the 2006 closed-circuit TV pipe inspection vehicle to the Washington County Department of Water Quality for the lump sum price of $50,000. Department of Utilities Wastewater Division responded to invitation to bid number purchase 1321 issued on behalf of the Washington County Board of County Commissioners, submitted the accepted lump sum price of $50,000. This vehicle was no longer required in the collections department, was sold to help pay for the replacement of vehicle 508.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a
seconded by Mr.
comment,
Munson.
please?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to congratulate the wastewater division on this initiative. $50,000 is probably more money than much more money than could have been obtained on an open market bid. And the fact is that the $50,000 is going to pay for other city needs, and as a consequence, the taxpayers have been well served by this initiative.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The transfer is approved. The approval of the lagoon cleaning and maintenance contract is next.
Mayor, hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the one-year extension of the contract with Snagro Central LLC to provide residual removal services for 0.04 cents per gallon with an estimated annual expenditure of $160,000 of Water Division operating funds. Actual cost will be determined by the volume of required residual removal to ascertain compliance with the Clean Water Act NPDES permit requirements. This contract shall be in effect for 1 year as the final renewal identified in the existing contract.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The approval is granted. Item I is the approval of a purchase for a backhoe and hydraulic hammer.
Mayor, hereby move the mayor and city council approve the purchase of a John Deere 310 SL backhoe and allied hydraulic hammer in the amount of $123,787.27 from Jesco Inc., utilizing account number 528-5001-5892-C0117.
Second.
Very good. Mr. Brubaker making the motion, Mr. Munson seconding. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The approval is granted. Item J is the approval of a contract for R.C. Wilson Water Treatment Plant Phase 4 improvements closeout with Sawyer Environmental Engineers and Scientists.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the requested change order number 4 for additional engineer of record support services for the R.C. Wilson Phase 4 project in the amount of $217,274. This project will address the traveling screens at the water treatment plant and tank mixing systems.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Metzner, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The approval is granted. Item K is the approval of contract for planning, evaluation, design services for repairs at the Edgemont Reservoir.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that the mayor and city council approve the planning, evaluation, and design services for repairs of the Edgemont Reservoir by Hazen and Sawyer in the amount of $469,226, utilizing account number 5285001-5814C0168.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Munson, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion?
Yes, I asked that this, whether this contract is committed the whole $469,000, in that it seems to me it was evaluating certain stages and evaluating other opportunities. And what's the point of that evaluation if we're committed to the $469,000 for the reservoir? Are we still staged, or are we committing the whole 400? I don't see any difference here, but maybe I'm missing it.
We'll come back to council once the evaluation is done, and look to mayor and council for approval. Go ahead and move into the design phase. We will not move into that design phase until we present the evaluation.
And I think you said at the last meeting, you know, that it would be chunked in such that you wouldn't have to expend all that money up front.
Yeah,
Oh, I just wanted to have that incorporated as part of the motion discussion.
Gotcha.
So that is accurate. That it'll
It is
be chunked
accurate.
and brought in stages. Well, that's
Yes.
fine.
The proposal actually has a unit, if you will, unit cost, a lump sum cost for each of the various components of that proposal. So as we move forward, we can, you know, remove things from it, or if we needed to, we could actually do a change order to it and either reduce the scope or increase the scope.
So we're not committed
This
to
is-
Hazen and Sawyer for $469,000. We're committed to a process that could lead to that
Up
amount.
to.
Is
Up
that a
to.
fair way to say it?
Yes, up to.
Okay, well, then I'm satisfied.
Mr. Munson?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say, I think this is a good move. It's a good step in a right direction. I think an alternative water supply for the citizens of Hagerstown in particular, and those that we serve in Washington County, is very important to this community. I know that since this mayor and council have been in office, there have been at least 2 major spills, including one last week on the Potomac River, perhaps 3. And they weren't bad enough that the river could not be utilized, but they were serious. And it might get bad enough someday that the river can't be utilized. So having this alternative, hopefully, in the future, is a good step. And I'd like to thank the department for its work on this issue.
I agree. My compliments to the staff for all the work that they've been doing, not only with all of the improvements at the Wilson plant, but especially now in dealing with the Edgemont situation. And I have to agree with Don. I think our forefathers were very wise in looking to the future growth and the health and well-being of our city to have that alternate water supply. And I do think it's a worthwhile endeavor to go through this process where we have the best data possible to evaluate our options.
I sense that, but I think we should then look for, it's $12 million, you know, the ordinary thing would be, what's the best expenditure to protect us and spend $12 million? But if we move forward with this, it ought to be incorporated as part of regular operating procedures instead of just a standby. It has failed as a standby, it has deteriorated, has come apart. Then to me, the long-range plan ought to be, how do we incorporate this into the everyday water supply so that it's running all the time and is there as an emergency backup? That's I hope a direction. I won't be here, but I would encourage that would be a sounder engineering solution than rebuilding it as just a standby.
Just having it sit there
Yes.
and rot, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, and I would only note, you know, in addition to the information that we received on the spill, I think it was a paper mill plant. I mean, we don't know what those chemicals are. We don't know their effect on you know, us in general. I mean, I'm sure that there's some science to it, but you never fully know. But the other incident that I think that occurred this week, which I think was equally important, reminds us that you know, we're 12 times larger than all other water systems in this county combined. We provide water to 3 municipalities outside of the city, one of which in significant maintenance operations this week experienced you know, a detrimental, you know, hiccup in their capability to supply their residents, Smithsburg. You know, in a maintenance scenario, you know, and this happens to sit in an area, you know, that sort of bolsters that pressure, even though I understand that, you know, in that incident, you know, the system's down, but I think that it reminds us that it isn't just, you know, those types of natural occurrences on the Potomac that may limit our supply, but also the pressurization and the service breadth that we have to you know, nearly twice as many customers as live in the city. Thanks, Dan.
Mr. Mayor, Kristen makes a really good point, and the people who run this department need to be thanked and congratulated for their service over the weekend in Smithsburg. The water department provided extensive service to the town of Smithsburg, and if they hadn't, Smithsburg would have had some real problems, I think, as far as their drinking water goes. And a lot of the department, a lot of the people who work in the department spent the entire weekend, including today, I believe, to provide quality of water that's needed and with our customers. So thanks, Kristen, for raising that point.
Any other discussion on the motion? Proposed by Mr. Munson and seconded by Ms. Nye. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Item L is an agreement between HPD and the US DEA for funding task force officers.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for the mayor and council approval to authorize the renewal of a cooperative state and local agreement with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. This agreement states that the city of Hagerstown will detail 3 experienced officers to the Hagerstown resident office for a period of not less than 2 years. It also states that the city of Hagerstown will be responsible for the salary, overtime, and benefits of the 3 HPD officers. The DEA will provide reimbursement costs associated with drug investigations up to $17,753 per officer to the city of Hagerstown. The period of this agreement is October the 1st, 2016 through September the 30th, 2017.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Nye, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion is approved. Item M is the acceptance of a Maryland Safe Streets grant for the HPD.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of the Maryland Safe Streets grant to the Hagerstown Police Department in the amount of $161,024. This grant provides salary support for a crime analyst, safe streets coordinator, 2 police officers, safe streets prosecutor, and overtime funding for Washington County Sheriff's Office for collaborative enforcement efforts.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Nye, seconded by Mr. Munson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The approval is granted. Item N is the acceptance of a Maryland Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office grant for HPD.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for Mayor and Council approval to accept the Maryland Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office grant in the amount of $12,500. For the past several years, the Maryland Department of Transportation has awarded similar grants to HPD for various traffic safety initiatives. Earlier this year, MDOT's Highway Safety Office notified HPD that it was eligible for $12,500 grant funding for the grant year starting October 1, 2016. HPD applied for the funding, which MDOT's Highway Safety Office has approved. This funding allows officers to focus on enforcing violations of aggressive driving, distracted driving, impaired driving, and occupant restraint laws.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Alshire, seconded by Ms. Nye. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And the motion is approved. The last item on our agenda is the approval of a contract for reconstruction of alleys.
Mayor, I hereby move for approval of a contract with Concrete Central LLC of Hagerstown, Maryland, in the amount of $348,735 for the reconstruction of all or portions of 9 public alleys.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brubaker, seconded by Mr. Metzner. Any discussion?
I just want to comment that these alleys are distributed in literally every direction of the compass around the city. There's many, many more that could be addressed, but, you know, these met the priorities this year. But it's all around the city.
And if I could make a comment as well, please.
Please.
This is a good piece of work by our city engineer. Everybody may recall that about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, there was a study done on the condition of all the alleys in Hagerstown that we paid for. And this, I believe, this proposal tonight, I believe, came out of that study. So obviously, the study is paying off.
I'll just note, I was walking home the other night, and I actually happened to venture through alley 8 and 9, which is, perpendicular to Guilford and Chestnut, and then pops out there. And oh man, this alley looks horrible.
It's a good thing it's
You
on
can
the
definitely
list.
tell it.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries and the contract is approved, and we are adjourned. Thank you.